While the inherent quality of all aspects of an art form are subjective, humour and comedy is often regarded as the most divisive. It can be informed by not only just a general personal preference in humour, but also a person's age, their background, their social class, how much they relate to a joke, their culture, their community. Pinning down a rigid idea of what is a good gag or what isn't is literally impossible, because humour as a spectrum is created from a billion different abstract concepts affected by 10 billion different variables. All of this, of course, is just a really unnecessary wordy preamble in order to justify me saying without hesitation that What We Do in the Shadows is the funniest fucking shit I have ever seen in my life. Created by Jermaine Clement of Flight of the Conchords fame, as well as one of my favourite writer-directors of all time, Taika Waititi, who's now like Disney famous, What We Do in the Shadows is a mockumentary that shows a day in the life of a group of vampires who share a flat in Wellington. And if that concept alone isn't enough to make you go, yes please, then I'm not sure you should be looking to me for guidance in what movies to watch, because you and I clearly have very different opinions. The first time I ever saw this film was at a cult cinema all-nighter. I was just coming off the back of the brilliant but admittedly quite draining at 2 a.m. Blade Runner, and going into the next film I was splitting off with my friends because they already had tickets for another movie. And I'd just hit that 4 a.m. slump of, oh my god, I really want to go to sleep now, but I can't leave because there's no public transport on. So I was very, very prepared to make this next film my nap movie. Except by 5 minutes in, I had fully woken up. By 10 minutes in, I was cackling like a goddamn banshee. And that would have been embarrassing because I am talking obnoxious, so loud you're missing the next joke laughter, but it wasn't, because everybody else in the cinema, which was sold out, was also making these ridiculous noises and laughing their asses off in their equally tired 4 a.m. forms. I could not believe how much this film was up my alley. Just every single joke for me landed, to the point that by the end of it, I was just giggling manically by myself as the credits rolled and everyone left, just sat there recalling some of the best lines. And then I couldn't even explain how much I enjoyed the movie to my mates I met up with again afterwards, because I couldn't stop giggling long enough to tell them. I don't even know how else to talk about this movie. Like, that is the best recommendation I could possibly give it. It's really, 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 really fucking funny. And it's about vampire flatmates. There you go. Go watch, that's all you need. But just in case you aren't convinced, I will give you a little more to go off. The vampires in this film are portrayed by its two creators, Taika and Jermaine, as well as Clement's previous collaborator, Jonathan Breu. I hope I'm saying that right, I can't find any clips that says his name. Taika is Viago, the slightly nerdy, uptight flatmate who hesitantly nudges the others into passive-aggressively doing their chores. Clement is Vladislav, the sexy, seductive and charismatic older and wiser member of the trio, or at least that's how he sees it. And Deacon is the self-proclaimed young rebel, though most of his quote-unquote rebellious actions essentially boils down to things like not doing the dishes when it's his turn. These three leads are also backed up by an exceptional supporting cast of memorable characters, like Peter, the barely seen feral Nosferatu-styled fourth flatmate who lives in the basement. A pack of werewolves, who I don't want to get too much into as they make up some of the funniest scenes in the movie and I don't want to spoil it, and my personal favourite, Stu, who's literally just an IT guy they make friends with. The main source of narrative conflict comes not just from the vampires trying to live their lives in a flat share and all of the student dorm style arguments that comes with such an arrangement, but the introduction of a new vampire called Nick, one of the victims who is turned by Peter and they now have to get along with because he's always just kind of around. This tiny little twist on their pre-established dynamic causes them a lot of chaos and conflict, and sets up for a great deal of truly inventive, unique and hilarious comedy, far different from the American sense of humour that often dominates the film industry. It's a real breath of fresh air even today, despite being 6 years old now. There's still literally nothing else like it. Well, that's a lie, I suppose there is one thing like it, and that's the What We Do in the Shadows TV show adaptation of this movie, which I haven't seen in full yet, but the couple episodes I have watched seem to emanate the same irreverent brand of surreal fun that made the film work so well, and I've only heard amazing things about the rest of it. And not only is it a funny film, it's also really quite a sweet one. You truly learn to love these offbeat little self-serious weirdo dorks and hope everything goes well for them. They've each got their own smaller narrative arcs and goals that sees them grow throughout the runtime in rewarding and lovable ways. I mean, they're essentially just 3 cute dweebs, and since that same description could be applied to most of the people in my life that I like, I just find their big, weird and wonderful personalities super adorable. And I kinda don't want to tell you anything else about it, to be honest. I realise this is a bit of a short one and I haven't actually told you that much about the movie except for the fact that I fucking love it, it's fucking funny, and you should fucking watch it. But, like, I can't really give any deeper analysis without spoiling key scenes or punchlines, and I just don't want to do that. Because I'd be robbing you of discovering those things for yourself, and nothing kills a joke quicker than having someone tell you the punchline badly and out of context. So I'm just not gonna do that. Just watch it yourself. Trust me, it's really good and hilarious, and you'll enjoy it. It looks great, the effects are surprisingly well done, but even if none of that was true, it wouldn't even matter, because the writing, the performances, and the characters absolutely steal the show. What I will say though, is if you're interested in things like the writing process or anything like that, I really recommend that you watch this movie and then go back and watch the original low-budget short film they made that it's based on. The whole thing is available free on YouTube, and it is absolutely fascinating because it's like witnessing the script refinement process firsthand. That film almost feels like the first draft of what eventually becomes the feature. The characters and cast are the same, entire jokes and scenes are recycled, but it is almost never one-to-one. You can literally see the places where Taika and Jermaine touch things up and just how much more effective they are now as a result. The stuff that doesn't land is completely gone, jokes that were multiple sentences long have now been shortened and made punchier, one gag in particular is stripped from a fairly lengthy paragraph to single 4 words, and the difference that makes is like, wow, that is so much better now. Characters are way more rounded, and Viago especially is super interesting to study because it feels like in the short film they really haven't cracked that guy. He's performed as almost just another Vladislav, like they're basically the same person, and even though he has entire lines the same across both versions of the film, it's weird because in the short they just fall flat sometimes because the character isn't there. But then when you see them again in the feature and they've totally reinvented the character, it's like, ah, yes, there it is. Those lines are so much more suited to him now. Anyway, I just think that's super interesting because it's really cool to see big names as huge as these guys are now making something so amateur-y, I guess. And that's not even an insult. I like the short the way it is. I wouldn't want it to be any more professional, otherwise it could lose some of its charm, but like, it is comforting to know that even the blockbusting greats still need a fair few goes of things to get stuff right. And it's cool because normally we wouldn't have the privilege of seeing these earlier, rougher takes. That shit would get long lost probably before the cameras even started rolling, and if not then, at least be lost on the cutting room floor. With that interesting aside out of the way, the main takeaway I want you to have from this thing is watch What We Do in the Shadows. And Taika Waititi, if you're watching this, I love you, please take me on as your apprentice, that would be Kushti. So that's all for today. Once again, I would ask you to subscribe to my OnlyDans by clicking the red button below so that you don't miss tomorrow's video. See you then.